Ashley Webster right now. We have Disney reporting first quarter results.
We do indeed,
give me the
Melissa.
numbers.
Let's get right to it. On the earnings front, earnings per share coming in at $1.55. That beats the estimate of $1.49, but a miss on revenue coming in at $14.78 billion. The estimate was for $15.26 billion, so a miss there. As you can see, the stock down more than 2% after hours. Just going through the individual units, media and networks coming in at $6.23 billion. That is a miss, and Disney saying the decrease at ESPN due to higher programming costs and lower ad revenue partially offset some of that, but that's a big reason why the cable operating income is down. We're trying to get some actual numbers on subscriber growth. Analysts were saying if it grew anything from 4% and up, that would be considered good. Do not have that number yet, but clearly the problems at ESPN that's been going on, it really peaked about 12 years ago at ESPN, has been an ongoing problem for Disney. So there you go. A beat on the earnings side, but a miss on revenue and the stock moving lower.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, thank you. Kevin, let me ask you quickly. I mean, the problems at ESPN are not new, yet they still missed on the revenue side pretty significantly, 14.78 versus 15.26. I mean, it's not a surprise what's going on over there. How do they still miss?
Yeah, they're trying to address these issues, and they recently bought actually a video streaming company called BAMTech, and we know ESPN has benefited from one of the most defensible parts of video content, and that is live sports. And so for that to keep missing and for them to not be able to turn it around, it's a big concern. So you've got 4 years of ESPN subscribers of declines, so that's a big issue, and they're trying to remedy it with this video streaming content with BAMTech, but it's not helping out.
All right, let's bring in John Friedman. He's a media journalist, a professor at Stony Brook University. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Bob Iger, we're hearing again, may extend his tenure. This is a story that continues to unfold in this fashion. It's hard for me to imagine that he's really going to step down. Are there other folks in line for succession? What would it mean to them if he didn't, and what's your bet?
There always are people in line. Disney. It's a very important job and a great job. Iger and Wall Street get along very well. Wall Street trusts Bob Iger. They like Bob Iger. They would not want to see him go very lightly.
Right.
And to take his place is a very big job and a very big task. I don't know who could take his job right now who Wall Street would like so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin, what do you think about that? I mean, what would it mean for the stock if he did pass the baton?
Yeah, it's been expected. This is the third time he's gone through this. So the biggest issue is why can't they find somebody? And these are a lot of his lieutenants, and he's supposed to know them intimately, and they can't trust him to take over his job, but they trust him to work for him. I mean, it's a problem that a company like Disney can't find talent. It's really disheartening, and I don't think that you can continuously have this where you have a CEO in place, and this is now the third time he won't pass the baton. So you've seen a lot of talent leave over the years.
I want to talk about ESPN for a second. I want to bring Dan Henninger back into this conversation because, Dan, there are some reasonable people that are talking about liberal bias at ESPN. So looking at things like they were stumping for Black Lives Matter for a while. They were pushing gun control, praising Kaepernick's taking a knee in the Star-Spangled Banner. They fired Kurt Schilling, of course, for his comments on radical Islam. And they actually had one of these ombudsmen, one of these outside guys come in and take a look at it. And he did find some liberal bias. He said, he's quoting one of the employees there saying, if you're a Republican or conservative, you feel the need to talk in whispers. Now, is that translating into the homes? Is it feeding through the television screen?
Well, to some extent, it probably is, David. I mean, I think the Colin Kaepernick situation cost them heavily at the beginning of the NFL season. But, you know, ESPN, you talk about cable cutting. As we were hearing earlier, there's this huge cultural transformation going on driven by digital technology. It's hurting brick and mortar stores. It's hurting traditional cable channels like ESPN. And I think Disney has decided not to change horses in the middle of the stream with Bob Iger. It is such a volatile economy, which is why, you know, as we were saying earlier, we're so hopeful about Trump getting some of these burdens off the economy so these individuals have the freedom to adjust to the new economy.
Let me go back to John Friedman. John, is it a matter of editorial content or technology that's hurting ESPN?
It's both. Plus, there's no buzz anymore at ESPN. It's not a very exciting brand anymore. Like MTV, it's been around for 3 or 4 decades, 3 decades. It's in 79, and what's the excitement anymore? SportsCenter, I can see on my phone who won the game, who scored the touchdown. It's on my phone. Why should I watch SportsCenter? It's a real big problem for ESPN. No buzz is a big problem.
Kevin, what do you think about that? There is a lot of editorial problem with ESPN, but of course there is this technical issue too about the cord cutters.
Well, one of the reasons why there was people were feeling this liberal bent is because you do actually have talk shows throughout the day where people are talking not only on ESPN TV but also on the radio. So they're discussing a lot of the political issues and vis-a-vis through a lot of the actions that sports players were taking. We talked about Colin Kaepernick, but LeBron James was another person that said he didn't want to stay at Trump hotels. So then you had a bunch of former players and panelists opining on the political climate. So there was a liberal bent happening, and it's played through not only on ESPN, but also on ABC and during a lot of their primetime coverage.
And Dan, it's the Trump era. Let's face it. I mean, Trump is not shy about pointing his finger at people that he thinks are biased in one way or the other.
Yeah, he'll call people out, but as you were suggesting, David, people have alternatives now. They do not have to simply sit and take it and watch the same programs. They can go other places, and Trump was the biggest alternative of them all, and that's kind of where we are right now.
All right, Kevin, Dan, John, thanks a lot.